On December 4th, 2021, a man tried to use a fake silicone arm to get his vaccine certificate. Also on December 4th, 2021, I posted a YouTube short asking what your favorite weapon in Fallout was. This was the first legitimate entry in a new series that I called Fallout Q&A, IQ-UA. And so for the next 51 weeks after, I posted one video a week asking a specific Fallout-related question to my audience, to the community, to whoever wished to share their response. Today, let's go over the answers to 52 weeks, a year's worth, of questions. This is the Fallout Q&A 1 year special. Now, I should note that I can't physically go over every single comment that was posted on these videos. While I do appreciate everyone who shared their stories, answers, opinions, and such, we would be here for days going over them. So to choose the answers to share, I sorted the comments by YouTube's best comment feature and I took the top 3. Without further ado, let's begin. We're going to start off with the previously mentioned favorite weapon category. Fallout has a boatload of weapons, from traditional ballistic weapons like the assault rifles and pistols, to energy weapons like Gatling lasers and plasma rifles, to melee weapons like baseball bats and lead pipes. There's honestly a weapon for every person. But what weapons are the fan favorites? Well, for me, I said the hunting rifle. It's a classic. Something about being a wanderer of the post-apocalyptic wastes carrying a super old weapon just feels right. It's just me and my rifle. The first top comment was by Chris Rittenhouse, who said the Lincoln's Repeater, Ballistic Fist, and Explosive 50 cal. While I hardly ever use big guns or fist weapons, I do believe that the Lincoln's Repeater is a favorite by many as it is the strongest single-shot rifle in the game. Good choices overall. Next up was the Wojak known as WSF2, who said the Assault Carbine 10mm SMG, Fallout 3's assault rifle, and the Survivalist's rifle. I can see why this was one of the most liked comments on the video. In my experience in talking with people and reading other comments, 3 of the 4 weapons listed are quite popular. The Assault Carbine is a great looking weapon, Fallout 3's AR is a classic, and the Survivalist rifle just has that unique branding and war-torn look. And lastly, the third comment went over a lot of pistols. Poutine commented the 9mm, 357 Magnum, and the Ranger Sequio. Why do the New Vegas guns just look so nice? Although it doesn't pack a punch, the 9mm is a beautiful looking sidearm. While I praise the 9mm, I do have to say that I'm not a fan of the 357. Nothing about that weapon really does it for me. And then there's one of the greatest weapons in the franchise, the Ranger Sequio. Beautiful weapon that deals beautiful amounts of damage. Great pick. The following week, on December 12th, 2021, I then asked about your all-time favorite companion. I, being the goody two-shoes that I am, went with Star Paladin Cross from Fallout 3. After all, Fallout 3 had karma restrictions on companions, and I usually had good karma most of the time. It was a natural fit. But some heavy hitters revealed themselves in the comments. The top comment was by Payne, who said Raul. Great guy, that Raul. The Vaquero who's seen it all. Went through highs and lows, triumphs and tribulations. Great character and companion. The next comment was Boone. Everyone knows Boone. The stern NCR vet turned town guard. A man who's sworn to have his revenge on those who took his wife and baby from the world. Great choice. And lastly is Nick Valentine. Nick is great. He's the noir synth private investigator solving the Commonwealth's problems. And he can hack terminals, which is great because I'd rather not do that, you know? Let the professional take care of it and all that. The next Q&A was about your favorite faction. I went with the Railroad, the underground synth-saving secret organization that's been battered and bruised by those who conspire against them. I think I just really like the codenames and finding their rail signs around the Commonwealth. Makes me feel like a covert operative or something. Shotgun Jr. went a different approach and chose the Enclave, mentioning that they downloaded a Fallout 4 mod just to join them. Gotta respect the dedication. Sometimes it feels good to be bad. Hero for Life 338 chose the Followers of the Apocalypse. The name checks out. The Followers are a great faction, truly capable of helping Wastelanders without some long con goal. Great pick. And Constantin Resvois went with the Desert Rangers / NCR. The Rangers' suits are iconic. The drip is immaculate. And while the NCR may be incapable of securing the entire Mojave, at least they'll look good doing what they can. Next was a more abstract question, but on Boxing Day 2021, I asked you where your home was. You know, where do you find yourself returning to most often, not where you live. I went with the My Megaton house. It was the first player home I had in the franchise, so it was nice. No complaints, though the bomb at the center of town was a bit of a worry, but it kept property taxes down, so I managed. Monkey said the big empty player home of the Sink. This was a great choice. The Sink has everything and more that you could possibly need. A vendor, workbench, buffs, junk exchanges, and humorous company. Grape Punch said Novak. Another great choice with great reasoning. No one has time for all those load screens to get to the penthouse. Frick those load screens. And Eternal Miasma went with more of a nomadic approach, noting that they put a lot of time into Fallout 4's base building. Why have one home when the entire Commonwealth can be your home? As time went on, I got a bit more abstract with the questions. The next question to be answered was, what's so good about Fallout anyway? You know, what keeps you coming back to the franchise? My answer should have been quite obvious. Of course I keep coming back for the lore and the world. I love being able to explore the nooks and crannies of these games. And unsurprisingly, the top comments reflected the same sentiment. Crispy Toast agreed that the lore and world building of the franchise was top tier. Turtle Burger took a bit of a different approach, noting that they enjoyed bug catching and trying to break the game. And Dylan just really loves the idea of wandering around the wastelands, finding new and old tech alike. Though, I don't know if I'd want to respawn into the Fallout universe. A lot of messed up stuff in it, you know? Let me respawn into the Nintendogs world. I'd be okay with that. After these two more abstract questions, we went back into the favorites. Next up, what is your favorite perk icon? I gave a top 10 list, but the number 1 spot was reserved for the goofy animal companion. Me and Bugs are just close like that, you know? Keith McDinkster said Bloody Mess. Great perk art too. Though I've heard some have gotten in trouble with YouTube because of it. Yikes. Trickstab went with the Wild Wasteland icon. I personally think the perk is better than the art itself, but it's still a good choice. Nothing conveys Wild Wasteland more than a zoinked out Vault Boy next to an alien, a dripped up dog, and a dapper skeleton. And the Glowing Beans guy went with Cowboy. Yippee-ki-yay, Monday to Friday. Knife in the mouth, revolver in the right, shotty in the left, dynamite across the chest. Vault Boy ain't playin'. The next Q&A was about your favorite Fallout 4 side quest. I thought I had the banger answer with the Silver Shroud quest, and I was right. Though the top comment by HockeyChris26 was the Covenant quest Human Error, which is a great side quest, especially when you find it early on in the game. I remember Covenant was one of the first big locations I found in my first playthrough. It always gave off this sinister vibe, similar to Andale from Fallout 3. So when you're justified by finding the compound, you feel validated. It was a great feeling. But the next two comments echoed the Silver Shroud side quest. Chris Qualman even said to forget the main factions, Shroud is the only faction. Mr. Pancake agreed with the Silver Shroud, saying that you can play through the Automatron DLC entirely as the Shroud for some additional roleplay dialogues, as the Silver Shroud and Mechanist are arch rivals. The next question was about Fallout's most iconic armor, Power Armor. I asked what your favorite color scheme was. And while I didn't give an answer myself, if I retroactively had to choose, I would say Vim Green. You've got Vim. That Slicer2C guy gave a couple answers. Adam Katz, Winterized, and the Patriot XO1. All great choices. Ethan Ime said the grind was worth it to get the Quantum XO1. And Become Human said that the green XO2 was their favorite. No complaints from me. We got into a bit of lore for the next question. I asked, without courier interference, who would win New Vegas' ultimate conflict, the second battle of the Hoover Dam? And while I didn't give an answer, I'd wager that if the courier didn't help any faction, the Legion would likely have the best odds to win the battle and the Mojave. Kaiser had a lot of moving pieces to ensure victory. Many of these are thwarted during an anti-Legion playthrough, so that's what I think. But Matt said that Mr. House seemed the most capable, which I think is fair. Catsfly101 said that Mr. House would still own the Strip, but the NCR would take care of the rest of the Mojave. I actually think that if a New Vegas 2 were to be released, this would actually be the canon ending for New Vegas. It seems the most realistic. The Strip would become another state within the NCR nation, and Mr. House would be the state's representative. It makes sense to me, at least. And Voltaic Fire went with the sleeper choice of Scissors Legion. as on paper they rock. Great answer as always. The next question was about your preferences when it came to mods. Do you use them? I personally don't really use mods, though sometimes I'll have some save mods, unofficial patches, and texture mods. Dice Roanoke said that they play with a lot of weapon mods, new toys to play with. Cornhorn 280 mentioned that they really like the New Vegas Dust mod. I've heard about it myself, but I've never tried it. And G. McSpankinson said that they once installed so many mods that their game broke after a week. Unlucky McSpankinson. After the mods, we went into a fan favorite feature of New Vegas, the Wild Wasteland Encounters. I asked you what your favorite was. I listed a few of mine: the Owen and Baru skeletons, the Game Overman radio from the Hoover Dam, and the Indiana Jones fridge skeleton. Noomscast 40k said the Holy Hand Grenades, pull pin, count to 5 or 3, and throw. Adam Padilla said that the Lassie encounter with Rex and the dogs playing poker scene in the Old World Blues DLC. Someone's a dog person. And Remnant went with the petrified dog Seymour found in the Lonesome Road DLC. R.I.P. Seymour. And they also mentioned Stripes the Miniature Deathclaw. Movie and TV references seem to be the favorites. The next question was spooky themed. I asked how much of the occult, paranormal, and the likes should be in the Fallout franchise. I said Fallout 4 had a good amount, but I would have liked more ghosties. Maybe a Fallout-style dungeon that was similar to that one house in the House of Horrors quest in Skyrim. Quicksave said that the current games have a good amount, but wouldn't mind more as long as it didn't affect the main plot. I agree, I don't really want the main storyline to be about ghost hunting either. It would just be a bit off-brand. Jeshula Ibn Mustafa said that Fallout 76 had some great supernatural stuff, tying the lore of the game into the Mothman and the Wendigos. And Hans had a very level-headed answer, saying that it really depends on where the future game takes place. That makes sense. It would be a bit jarring to have Wendigos or the Mothman in a game located in Texas, right? And then this talk of cryptids and the occult got me thinking, what is your favorite creature design in the entire series? I went with the Sheep Squatch, just this burly, wretched beast that gives me the absolute creeps. Jack XX Doa said the Cazadors, and that's a fair choice. Nothing instills more dread in Fallout players than seeing a horde of Cazadors fluttering in your direction. Plizkin Ishmael said the Super Mutant Companions, the Centaurs. It's an amalgamation of human body parts that crawls and spits God knows what at you. Absolutely foul. And Soap God went with the Mirelurk Queen, the massive mutant mama crustacean that spits its own offspring at you. Mama don't like her kids. After creatures, I asked about robot design. I went with the newest bot on the market, the Assaultron, the deadly humanoid bot capable of firing a frickin' laser beam from their head. One question, Robco. Why did you make it sexy? Jason H went with the classic Liberty Prime. Democracy is not negotiable. Don Pollock went with another classic, the beloved Eddie, maybe the most liked robot companion in the entire series. And then BlackBear63 agreed with my take and chose the Assaultron. Also, why do they have stealth capabilities too? They're just the strongest robot out there or what? Why even have the Mr. Gutsy? From here we went to what a dream Fallout game would have. I mentioned a few things: dynamic co-op, roleplay elements similar to Fallout 3 and New Vegas, Fallout 76 gunplay, and having it located in either Seattle, Toronto, or New York would be pretty cool. Dog looking back at you wanted more consequences for their actions. They wanted to see more results of what they chose to do. And while past games have had something like this to some extent, more would always be appreciated. Jason Bristol wanted better vault dungeons. I can agree with this to a certain extent. The vaults in Fallout 3 especially are all quite dilapidated, creepy, and unsettling. In Fallout 4, however, many of them just aren't that fun to explore and complete. That's just my 2 cents on the matter anyway. And finally, Butterknife wanted a game set in New York. Hey, I'm walking here. Though I'm uncertain if in-game limitations would restrict the epicness of a New York set piece. Maybe the technology isn't quite there yet. We swiftly got back to favorites. The next Q&A was celebrating the start of Formula 1's 2022 season, so naturally I asked, what is your favorite car in Fallout? I said the Zip. It's a goofy little single-seater. Maybe not my dream car, but golly, it does look absurd. Jetroid hit us with the classic, the Christless Highwayman, the only car that a protagonist can drive in the games. Makes sense as to why it would be the most liked comment. Xander Newson agreed on the zip. Can I just say that I'm glad I wasn't the only one? It would have been quite awkward. And Babu said that for some reason they really like the vans that appear in the game, and that the Corvega Blitz is a good solid second choice. After that we went into the best New Vegas side quest. Out of all of them, I think my favorite is the I Put a Spell on You quest. The reasoning I gave in the video was because it made me feel like a spy in a movie, and I stand by that reasoning. You get to sleuth out a Legion spy that wants to blow up the McCarran monorail. It's fun. Voltaic Fire went with the Jacobstown quest. I think they're talking about the Guess Who I Saw Today quest. That's the one where you help Doc Henry with his Nightkin research. I agree, it does feel like you're doing some actual helpful work. Though maybe it should be called Super Mutanarium work. What do you think? G. McSpankinson went with the one where Sunglasses Man gives me his hat. Cryptic with these quests, huh? I think G is talking about Boone's One for My Baby side quest. That's the one where he gives you his beret to wear in front of Dinky the T-Rex when he found his wife's killer. It's an iconic quest that's been memed to death. And Fossil Fighter went with the talent pool for a very good reason. Getting to see the talent you recruited play at the tops is such a cool experience. I actually have the Lonesome Drifters, or Josh Sawyer's Home on the Wastes on one of my Spotify playlists. It's a catchy little tune. We then got into some wishes for Fallout 5. I asked what things from past games should make a return appearance. I went with a few things: the Fallout 3 assault rifle, the skills system, and another pre-war setting like the Fallout 4 prologue or Operation Anchorage. I just like learning about pre-war stuff. I think it's interesting. Jeffrey Modesit went with the faction reputations. I suppose it is nice being able to see your standing within many factions of the games. I know that 76 has reputations for the Settlers and Raiders, but it's more so for reward checkpoints. It's not really the same. Daniel Marafino went with the skill point system. Yeah, I like the skill system. I think Fallout 4 put too much emphasis on the special stats to the point where they were kind of redefined. In a typical RPG, stats like special are merely used to describe the character in the world. 5 strength would be an average person, 10 would be the strongest person on Earth, etc. But to get a good build in Fallout 4, you'll likely have a lot of specials in the 7 to 10 range, making your character an absolute freak in the world. It would be nice if perks were instead tied to a skill system. Again, that's just my 2 cents. And Jacob wanted to see the Legion again, or a Legion-like faction. I agree that it would be interesting to see what the Legion looked like further east, away from the front lines. I'd imagine it would still be quite dark though. After that, we got into a bit of controversy with asking about your unpopular opinion. I went with a bit of a safer choice in that I'm not too keen on using power armor, especially in Fallout 4 and 76. While I do like the changes to power armor and making it a sort of mech suit, I just like RPing in some Wastelander clothes. Cornhorn280 agreed, saying that they weren't big on power armor either. The German Fool said that the mech suit style of power armor is good, and Granz III said that they actually enjoyed doing settlement quests for Preston Garvey. Now that is a good unpopular opinion. We got into another favorite type question after, but one a bit more sensationalized. I asked you what your favorite Fallout conspiracy was. I went with the idea that the Gunners are working for someone, being tasked to sow the seeds of chaos within the Commonwealth. Dingle Dongus went with the Nobark Noonan is the Chosen One theory. He is a bit of a mystery, and he does have quite a few caps. Quinn Morris echoed the birds aren't real sentiment that I shared in the video, and Tunnel Stakes Rule went with the more obscure synth tumbleweeds theory. I like this one. After that, we got into some of the worst bits of Fallout. I asked you who the most annoying companion was. I gave a few answers. Ian, Butch, Fox, and the Pariah Dog all have their unique share of faults. But everyone else seemed to go in a different direction. Superguy983 went with Strong. Strong is just a hater, I guess. Jonathan Clark went with what I expected to be the popular answer of Preston Garvey, but only because his aim sucks. And Ice went against the grain, saying that they really liked Preston, and that their most annoying pick was Strong as well. Does anyone like Strong? Following that, we got into the worst weapons. My shortlist was the Syringer. It just doesn't do significant damage. The Pool Cue, terrible durability, terrible damage. And the Chinese Pistol, looks cool, awful damage. Froggy went with the Junk Jet. While I admit that I don't use the weapon all too much, it's quite funny launching teddy bears or billiard balls at people. It just works. Said Davis went with the Pipe Pistol. I think this is a good pick. I'd love for the pipe and homemade weapons to have some better scaling past, like, level 5. Let me make a pipe minigun or something, yeah? And Ceruleum Luna went with the expert. I feel like this is some inside joke I'm not a part of. On May 8th, 2022, I asked you about your Fallout horror stories. While I didn't share a specific tale, the Dunwich Borers, Parking Garage Maze, and Nuka Gauntlet all give me the spooks. I'm just not a fan of, participating in death mazes. The Black Shark shared a story about a ghoul tsunami. Dogmeat found an enemy? My friend, I think Dogmeat found many enemies. Tyoxis P-Face took a good guess on everyone's horror story, their first encounter with Cazadors. You're not wrong in the slightest. And Spencer McCormick went with their first time going grocery shopping in the Commonwealth. Going into the Super Duper Mart for the first time was one of the coolest experiences for me. That might have been the first time seeing all those new ghoul animations, equal parts horrifying and fascinating. This brought me to the inspiration for a sort of series that we have here on the channel. The following week, I asked you who, aside from the protagonists, was the greatest Fallout legend. I gave a few for inspiration: Roger Maxson, the founder of the Brotherhood of Steel; Harold, an FEV mutant who's been everywhere and done everything; Kaisar, the man who made 87 tribes fall at his feet; Tandy, the woman behind the NCR; Frank Horrigan, the Enclave's nigh unkillable agent; and Conrad Kellogg, the Institute's fearsome surface operative. But those in the comments gave some great alternatives. Jade Mathman said the fabled Grenade Man. You know, the mysterious guy who scared off some raiders with just noises from his mouth. And then both Jeroen and Can said the mysterious Stranger. Both characters are near mythical status, so I suppose those are probably the best answers. After the Greatest Legend Q&A, we got into a hypothetical battle to the death between all 6 main canon protagonists, and I asked you who would win. I didn't give you an answer, but looking back through some of the comments, I'm inclined to go with the male sole survivor. He is a former soldier after all. Menagerie OS hit us with the 2,000-year wisdom of whoever has quick save. Hit him with the F5, and then when things aren't going too swell, follow it up with an F8. Doomguy chose the Courier as their favorite, but also wisely pointed out that the sole survivor doesn't have a hard level cap, meaning that they could get all 10 special and all perks. That's kind of OP, don't you think? And Knife Point King said that the fight would last an infinite amount of time, thanks to the assumed Essential tag. Next, we got into a fan favorite addition to the series, the Cryptids. I asked you what your favorite was. I actually didn't give an answer to this one, as honestly there are too many good ones to pick from, so let's take a look at your favorites. Purple Squire went with the Mothman, an iconic and classic choice. Gary the Clone hit us with the out-of-left-field answer, Kaisar. I'll allow it. And Skill Jim is a fan of the Grafton Monster. It is quite menacing. After Cryptids, we got into some more worst things, like what's the worst faction? I went with the Raiders if we're talking about worst as in most evil, and then I went with the Boomers from Nellis if we're talking about worst as in you just don't like them very much. Both Sparklepaws and Greensnake went with the Fiends, and I wholeheartedly agree. The Fiends are like the Raiders if the Raiders wanted to be more raidery, you know? Great choice. And then Toad 2 Dope went with an absolutely sleeper pick. They said the crew of the USS Constitution. That's a wild answer that I don't think I ever expected, but Toad makes a valid point. They are quite helpless. Then we got into another worst question. This time I wanted to know what the worst perk icon/art was. I gave a few that were a bit lame. Medic, Fast Metabolism, and Basher are all a bit weak. Vector Perkins agreed, lolling at the Fast Metabolism perk. Mr. Critic went with the original Child Killer art. Art so controversial it had to be cut from the game. Surely that would qualify it as being one of the worst. And Enter Name here also thought Fast Metabolism just wasn't that great. But you gotta cut the artists some slack. How would you ever effectively draw that? On June 19th, I hit you with one of the more thoughtful questions. What is the most iconic thing in Fallout? What needs to return for Fallout 5? I went with super mutants, ghouls, deathclaws, and raiders. A game without any of those iconic enemies just wouldn't feel like Fallout. Kansas went with a more abstract answer of the whole retrofuturism theme, which I agree with. Fallout wouldn't be Fallout without nuclear power, laser weapons, and wonky-looking cars. Corrupted Member went with the series' iconic power armor. It's on every game's box art for a reason. And Dwight D. Eisenhower went with the ever so iconic phrase, war never changes. Then we had a bit of fun with the next Q&A. What is the goofiest looking creature? I said the New Vegas geckos, the 76 floaters, and the gator claw. They all just look a bit silly to me. Emerson King was lolling at my answer of the gator claw. I just think hornless, long-headed deathclaws are a bit silly. Sure, it would still tear me limb from limb, but it would be doing so while looking like an absolute fool. That's Nort 1, Gator Claw 0. Game R went with the Fallout 4 Super Mutants. I agree they are a bit rudimentary. And Mex went with the Fallout 3 Mirelurks. I agree wholeheartedly. The bipedal crabby lads just don't cut it for me after seeing the Fallout 4 Lurks. It was a great redesign. Then we went to another tough question. What should never return? I went with the Dialogue Wheel and Radiant quests. I'm just not a big fan of either. Cool in theory, for sure, but poorly implemented. Literal Nightmare Fuel went with the limited dialogue due to a voiced protagonist. I'd have to agree. In a franchise known for its choices and roleplay, it sucks that we were always limited to such few creative choices due to the protagonist being voiced. It's kinda crummy. Snake of Lordran went with the classic of missing point-blank shots just because your arm is crippled. I, again, agree. My barrel is in your face. How am I missing these shots? And Beautiful Manga went with a familiar answer of the Fallout 3 and New Vegas Mirelurks. What are the odds of that, eh? Those were really some ugly bastards. I asked a bit of a heartwarming question next. What is your favorite item? I'm not exactly sure how that's heartwarming, but it was heartwarming to me. I just wanted to know what you carried around, you know, something that you collect. I went with the iconic Action Abe action figure. It is a one-of-a-kind, priceless collector's item, and you can't tell me otherwise. Hypestar went with the trusty Vault 13 canteen. I'll admit it, throw hate my way, whatever. I'll say it sometimes gets annoying seeing it pop up all the time, but this was still a great answer. Shivers went with the Fallout 3 Point Lookout Gray Matter. It's literally a piece of your own brain after all, so you gotta take care of that. And Ruby May went with the Star Bottle Caps. People kill over those, you know? Gotta keep them close. Then we went to the favorite characters of Fallout games. Which NPC is your favorite? I went with Owen Lyons. His time in DC was well spent, clearing super mutants and trying to give fresh water to the people of the capital wasteland. Ramadani went with Mr. New Vegas from Radio New Vegas. Cheery chap that man. Or AI? Dun dun dun. Not Gage went with Gary. This is a great choice as it's not only one NPC but at least 47. And Peter Hurst went with the Mr. Robert Edwin House himself. And it's a great choice. Of the big four leaders, House is by far the most tech-savvy. Then we got into a bit of exploration. I asked you what your favorite unmarked location was. I offered up a few: the Wind's Hideout, Sniper Shack, and the McClellan family townhome. They all have their share of oddities and unique flair. CTNKE shared a profound thought about unmarked graves. MILK really likes the F you door from Fallout 3. Opening it for the first time is definitely one of those classic moments in gaming. What a mean door. And Riff Raff really likes the small graveyard in Fallout 4, where a raider is mourning a lost friend. It's a bleak reminder that raiders still have feelings. I'll still blast them to 2 million pieces, but now I know that they'll feel that. From there, I asked your opinion on ammo types, and to a lesser extent New Vegas weapon modding. I personally thought they were a bit lame. It just never really affected my gameplay. I just use whatever ammo I have on me. A few people like Ethan Alker and Dream Spider X were making jests about my lack of awareness of the hotkey function to swap ammo types in New Vegas, which is fine, I have no problem with that, but maybe my lack of awareness is a product of the game's poor implementation of it. If someone who's been playing the game since release never knew this function even existed, was it well implemented in the first place? That seems like something Sunny Smiles should have taught me while in Goodsprings, you know? And GM Clusi is the voice of reason, saying that they liked having the option available. You can't argue with that. Having choices is always appreciated. After that, we got into some Fallout trivia. Chung Bingus said that the boomers don't carry dynamite because they all donated to Easy Pete. As this person's last name is Bingus, I have no choice but to believe them. Bunslinger notes that at one time during the development of New Vegas, Ulysses was intended to be a companion. That's a good one. And August Holdridge went with the fact that Boone will ask for his beret back if you remove it from his inventory. The man is bald. Come on, man. Please give him his hat back. We rounded out the modern Fallout sidequest Q&As with Fallout 3. What is your favorite Fallout 3 sidequest? As I am a good-hearted lad, I went with Agatha's song. It's nice to help out an old widow and get a family heirloom back for her. And the Blackhawk looks pretty good. Silzant agreed. Akina went with the Replicated Man sidequest. This is a good choice. It's a cool mystery quest that takes you across the entire wasteland. It also has a ton of variance with how you start the quest and complete each stage. And Zerkag hit me with the bruh after I called the antagonizer the ant-antagonizer. I don't really see the problem here. Then we got into another worst topic, this time the worst power armor scheme. I gave a ton of answers. Institute, Arctos, Firefighter, Settler Vigilante, and Military all suck quite a bit. NCR Trooper went with the Institute paint job as well. It's just so darn white. Albino Ginger Blackman noted that Sergeant Dornan might not be too happy with my choice, and Am Gray made a quip about Twitter. From there I wanted to once again speculate about a future Fallout title. Who do you think would be the next big bad? I offered up 3 answers. Perhaps a Twisted Treeminder, or the return of the Enclave or the Master would be interesting as well. DeBaby DeKiller wanted the Brotherhood of Steel to finally be the overt antagonists of the game. This would be interesting for sure. M. Giannis wants a former Master Lieutenant to be the next big villain. It sounds a lot like Addis from Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. Bardic Kobold wanted Vault-Tec to be the next big bad. Maybe their CEO, Elongated Muskrat, is operating post-war, trying to bring harm to the wasteland. And then I had to follow this up with another favorite Q&A. This time, what is your favorite super mutant? As the lover of Meat Week, I went with Graham. He's just a nice guy. Dylan Lippert chose another nice mutant with Uncle Leo, a genuine and caring mutant. Leo is nice company. Cyberbolt went with the hulking Frank Horrigan, the genetically tailored mutant capable of wrecking your shit as if it were just a normal Tuesday for him. And I'm here to just chose the friendly Hunter Erickson from Far Harbor. You want a dog? He's got dogs. After that, I asked you what your favorite VATS system was, and it was a clean sweep. While I went with the aimbot like Fallout 76, all 3 of the top comments, Paps, Crouching Seal, and David Collins Jr., chose Fallout 4. I respect it, the slow-mo bullet time is definitely a lot more cinematic. Good choice, guys. Then we delved into some speculation about Fallout 4's canon ending. I said that I think it would be the Minutemen ending with the Brotherhood of Steel still alive and kicking. Giorgio agrees, Ramona Ray said the Minutemen ending, and Rich2300 said Minutemen with the Brotherhood of Steel still alive as well. It's a clean 4-0 sweep, maybe the least controversial one yet. The 43rd Q&A was regarding your preference when it came to the different power armor systems across the franchise. Like normal armor but rare, needs a perk to wear it, or it uses an ammo system and acts as a sort of mech suit. And this was yet another clean sweep with the Fallout 4 mech suit taking the unanimous victory. Daddy Viper, Night Maher 1, Galaxy 9 Radio, and myself all agreed with the Fallout 4 system being the best one yet. This was followed up by another favorite question. Come on guys, you can't blame me, I just want to know what everyone likes, okay? Is that a crime? This time, it was your favorite raider boss. I said the original raider David Thorpe, a guy that nearly single-handedly doomed the entire region of Appalachia. Quite diabolical. Ninja Pickle chose Red Tourette, a woman who desperately wanted to save her sister. Nick Price went with the former Minuteman turned raider James Wire. After the primary leadership of the Minutemen fell, the group started to disband. James and others went to Libertalia to carve out a new life. And King James went with Driver Nephi, noting that their cut dialogue is just funny. From here, a pair of Q&As were released questioning how you navigate the many environmental obstacles that Fallout has, locked doors and locked terminals. How does one pick a lock? Cesario JPN commented that my sleep paralysis demon is lock-picking lawyer. I Hate Ranch said that they progressively get more aggressive as they near terminal lock-picking velocity. And Captain Chrono went with the tried and true 45-degree method. 20% of the time, it works 100% of the time. As for hacking terminals, some people like me just send it. Dakota Huffman found out recently that you could remove duds and reset tries, but enjoys the puzzles overall. Zoe's Sanctuary does 3 guesses, removes duds, and does 3 new guesses. This is the best strat in my experience, especially if you don't like word puzzles. And Kaiser didn't even know that they were actual puzzles until a week ago. That's fair, really. It just looks like a bunch of gibberish most of the time. Then, on December 5th, 2022, I asked you what your first Fallout game was. Mine was Fallout 3. A 50-foot fall said Fallout 4, Jack247 said Fallout New Vegas, and McBam said Fallout 2. A very diverse set of answers. Great work, everybody. Then we got into the artsy side of things with your favorite soundtrack. I went with the game that has the most music, Fallout 76. Quantity is good, right? Then I got absolutely clean sweeped in the comments. Trichromatic, Leon McBain, and Harkness Loves You all went with New Vegas. I guess Wayne Newton, Big Iron, and Johnny Guitar are just hard carrying, eh? Then we went to our favorite individual song. I gave a few. Heartaches by the Number, The Wanderer, The End of the World, Maybe, and Ghost Riders in the Sky. I doomed Sarnath27 went with the Big Iron, The Wanderer, Crawl Out Through the Fallout, Uranium Fever, and Civilization. Undercover 1122 went with Jingle Jangle Jingle, Blue Moon, Big Iron, I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire, and The Wanderer. And Matthew Wolfkale went with I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire, Maybe, and It's All Over But the Crying. All great song choices. Lots of different but iconic ones here. There is a lack of Johnny Guitar though. Heard it a bit much, I suppose? We got a bit goofy in the next Q&A. I asked you how you would survive in the Fallout universe, and it just turned into a bit of a meme fest. I suppose I started it by quoting Shaun of the Dead. Wheelchair Kermit went with the hide in the fridge strategy. If it works for Billy the Kid, it should work for all of us, right? Silent Hunter liked the quote that I gave, and Lugitama wants to just become a funny skeleton for a certain protagonist to find. Well in, lad, this is a great choice. The second to last Q&A for the year was about what keeps you playing. Why after all these years do you keep booting up Fallout? For me, I like the role-playing, the world, and of course, the lore. The Sweet One echoed a similar answer, enjoying the atmosphere, lore, and world building. Bryson Got You really likes Radio New Vegas. And Nathaniel Nadeau likes the customization and choices that you get to make during the games. These are all, again, great answers. And the last Q&A for the full 52 was one regarding your favorite achievement icon. I listed an absolute ton of them. Aiding the Outcasts, Educated, and a bunch of Fallout 4 icons. Like, way too many Fallout 4 icons. The artists went off in that game. Aged Swiss Cheese likes the Make Up Your Mind achievement icon. Fish50 left a nice wholesome comment, thanks Fish50. And Funky likes the achievement icon for gathering all the dead money companions. I believe that one is called Assemble Your Crew. And that, my friends, is 52 Fallout-related questions asked by me and answered by you. Let me know your thoughts on any of these questions. Give me your future Q&A ideas. If you heard your name, give a wave in the comments. And a big, big, big thank you to each and every one of you who have ever left a comment on any of my videos. I don't say it enough, but I appreciate all the support from you folks. It's been an amazing year and a half, and I wouldn't be here without you. Thanks for listening. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.
My father and I couldn't be more proud of what you have helped us accomplish, and we look forward to achieving even greater things in the future. The Institute is now truly mankind's best hope. Thank you. All of you.